Okay, so today we are going to talk about how to choose the right radio for you. We know we get people come in and they're overwhelmed by seeing all the different radios that look kind of similar and trying to figure out which one is the right one for me. So this information that we're going to share is true regardless of whether you purchase from C. Crane or elsewhere. The first question that we're going to ask you is, what do you want to listen to? Because that really is going to narrow down or expand your options as far as what you want to listen to. If you want to listen to AM and FM only, are you wanting to listen to shortwave, or do you need the weather band? How are you going to use this radio and what do you want to listen to? That's going to be the first question that you need to answer. Another thought is to, just as a side note, for most manufacturers, AM is an afterthought. They are not designing a radio with AM in mind like we are. So keep that in mind when you're looking for a radio and you're going, oh, I can't find one that has good AM. It's because most people don't really think of that as a market that needs to be served. So in our radios, we do spend a lot of time doing long range AM reception and trying to make sure that you can get the best reception possible. Next question will be, where do you plan to listen? Are you going to take this radio on a walk? Are you going to sit it next to your bedside? Are you wanting to travel with it? Do you want to move it from room to room? All these things will be considerations for what size of radio do you need? Because you're probably not going to want to take a larger radio with you in a suitcase if that's how you're going to primarily use it. But if you're using it next to your bed at night, not a problem, or in the kitchen. So keep that in mind when, where do you plan to listen? The next considerations will be, what bells and whistles do you need? Do you want it to have an alarm? Do you need it to have a clock? Do you want it to have memory presets? Again, if you're doing multi-band, shortwave, or airband, what are all the things that are important to you? Does it need to have a direct entry keypad, or can it just scan up and down the dial? Those are things that matter to a lot of people. The other consideration is, how few bells and whistles do you want? We have some people that come in and they don't want any bells and whistles. They're over technology. They just want to turn it on and have the radio play. And so we do have a couple of radios that are analog. And so on the analog, that's just where you're going to tune and listen, versus a digital radio where you're going to be able to go to the exact frequency that you want. Does it need to have a backlit display? All of ours actually do. Even with the analog, have that backlight on there, so that way you can see at night if you're using the radio. But those are considerations for you. The other consideration is sound. So the larger radios are inherently going to have better sound because they have bigger speakers in them. We do the best we can and try to source the best speakers we can for the smaller radios, but they're not going to be as loud or as robust or as full as the smaller radios. They're also probably not going to have the separate controls for bass and treble because they don't have the same space for those kind of controls. So keep that in mind when you're picking a radio, is what's the sound quality. Also super important, and something a lot of people don't know, is that the size matters as far as reception goes. So when you're looking especially at AM, the larger radios are going to get better reception than a smaller radio because of the size of the ferrite bar. And people always ask, what is a ferrite? So we took one apart for you to see. This is the ferrite bar, and that's what basically pulls in the AM signal, a part of what pulls in. And then there's all sorts of circuitry and different things that make that signal better, all the way down to the placement of the components on the board, how close they are to the power supply, what kind of shielding is in place. So there's a lot that goes into getting that AM reception, but one of the first things is going to be, how big is that ferrite bar inside? So the smaller radios have smaller bars. The other consideration also is a whip antenna. So a whip antenna, a lot of people think helps for AM, but it doesn't. It really is just for FM or shortwave. So on a radio that does not have a whip antenna, like a pocket radio, we have set it up so that earbuds will act as a whip antenna, or it comes with a wire also. That's going to be true for any radio that you purchase. So that whip antenna, if you're listening to FM or you're listening to shortwave, can have a big difference. We do have an external antenna for shortwave that comes with some of the radios. that will help. Or we also have external antennas for FM, and that's another consideration, is do you want to have an external antenna? So some of our radios actually have jacks built in for external antennas, and some don't. So if that's important to you, that would be something to consider. Typically, the more features and more function and more bands that you have on a radio, that's going to impact the price point. Consideration is emergency. Are you only going to be using this for emergency? Then a wind-up radio. We have a couple of those that would matter. Or a solar if you're going to be using it out in your garden all the time or don't want to have to worry about batteries all of the time. If it has Bluetooth, is that important? That's something that you would want to consider. We have a couple radios that have Bluetooth. So like this radio here has Bluetooth, this one doesn't, changes the price point. Otherwise, their function's very similar. If you have reception issues where the signal that you want to get is too far away, or maybe they power down at night, you might consider an internet radio. Pros and cons. So cons to an internet radio, you have to have the internet all the time when you want to use it. We have this one that's semi-portable, but again, you still have to be connected to Wi-Fi. We have this one that's not portable because it has to be plugged in the whole time. So lots of considerations, but some of the cool things is it comes with a full-size remote, has tons of different genres and options, and it sounds like you're in the same room with the station. It doesn't have the static or the fade that traditional radio would have. But some of the drawbacks, it's not going to have some of the same content either because it is streaming. So sometimes they block out different types of content. So there's a lot of considerations when you're thinking about which radio to choose. And if you're not sure, we highly recommend you give us a call or go on our website, send us an email. We can help you walk through what's important and help you pick the right radio. Even if it's not the right radio from us, we can tell you, oh, that's not something we have. But it will give you a good idea of how to choose which radio is right for you if you start with those considerations and kind of work your way down.